the ZeroTrusted.ai AI SOAR. So this is version 2.0. So if you're familiar with our current platform, you probably know that we're able to control AI agents, LLMs, and your users' prompts, find shadow AI. This is actually the next piece. So when you're using AI health check or platform, and it says you have adversarial training or there is some specific type of attack on your AI, your agent, or it's going out of bounds with your tools, you want to be able to have a full chain of custody. So that's why we built the AI SOAR. And SOAR is a word that's used in cybersecurity for security orchestration, automation, and response, but this is much more powerful because it runs at the speed of AI. For example, every single one of these tasks are backed by trained AI agents that have the access to over millions of dollars of cybersecurity, privacy, and reliability tools at your command. And so I say that our AI SOAR ships with 60 well-trained employees and a supervisor that can swarm them to deal with your security, privacy, and reliability issues. So here's a dashboard. It looks like any dashboard with a bunch of tools, but you see here how many AI agents I have available. So I got 60 registered AI agents that do everything from security policy analysis to evidence collection after a significant event, right? And all of them are put together with supervisors. We have compliance. This is very important. In DoD, we have all these different requirements. We have overlays. We have a bunch of STIGs. We use XCDDF. We have a bunch of SCAP. That is a lot of work for a human. So that's why we also have the AI agents to help you with that, right? On the risk management side, this is what you would expect to just know what's going on in your organization, what tools are available, where's your compliance, what type of issues are in your risk registry, and what settings, what things are you actually watching. And notice a lot of this is focused on AI. However, we found as we we're digging deeper, we wanted to give you a complete solution that integrates the traditional cybersecurity and privacy stack. And why that's really important for you is because you're already paying a crap load of money for all these tools, and they work, but they don't work together. So with the power of AI, we're able to consolidate and significantly reduce your spending, but also increase your capability when it comes to security and privacy. So this is threat intelligence. This is anything you would expect from a threat, malware, vulnerability, sticks, taxi, cybox, vulnerability feeds, attack framework, working with AI agents. Like I said before, you can download this, any findings that are out there on the deep web, the dark web, connections you have to NVD and other systems, and then all of your data feeds you're synchronizing to pull this data in. And this is kind of a backplane for information so your agents can respond to priority tasking also. So we connect to all these feeds so the agents have the information they know, like, oh, this is a priority because this is a KEV, this is a known vulnerability for this stack. I need to respond to this right away. Then in asset management, this is just where you set up your profiles. So this is where, maybe I'm going to set one up for DoD production AI environment, right? And why we want to do this is because you have lots of systems, you have lots of offices. Maybe let's say this is a Pentagon, um, and let's just call it Pentagon Cyber. So I'm making it, let's just say DoD, Department of War. Actually, I gotta remember Department of War, not DoD. And then of course it's gonna be high, and then let's say high and system owner is JSOS. So you can go through and I'll do all this, and let's just create a new profile here. Oh, didn't let me do it. And, and now all I did is just DoD production environment. I'm sorry, Department of War it should have been, but nonetheless, you get the idea there. And why you're doing that is because now you're going to have to allocate your inventory. So you might have a CMDB already. You might have some other place where you keep all of your tech assets, or you might be doing common platform enumeration scans, or you can scan yourself. So we give you all the tools, all the capabilities to connect it. And then this inventory, you're going to put into authorization boundaries. So just like you do in the risk management framework, we have it set up that way. And if you have a compliance framework, maybe you're doing ML ops and you're only interested in your development, your testing and production environments. You set these up separately because they have different testing requirements on them. Production might be high, 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 and development might be high, low, high, kind of. So you can do that. You can set the tests and then assessment boundaries up. I don't need to go on that. You know, an identity access, and that's really just to integrate your existing identity management. This goes in, and now that we have all this data about all these components, we need to understand and how to do supply chain risk management. And this puts you can add a supplier here, or it'll pull in your assets. So all the data on your suppliers are probably already there. You may have contractors you need to add in here, services type contractors, but your suppliers, you're going to be able to pull those up. You're going to be able to do assessments on them. You're going to add extra SCRM controls. By default, it runs the NIST 800-161, but you also have the DoD supply chain controls. You can run your threat agents on them to go out looking deep web, dark web, OSINT, or internally, and then just timeline of when you're going to plan these out. So as you can see, you're now integrating your supply chain risk management into somewhere where you have all of the assets, all the boundaries, you understand the confidentiality, integrity, and availability, so that helps a lot. This is just how you create artifacts on the fly. A system security plan shouldn't take you, years to create, especially with AI, or any of these different reports, even your Department of your OIG reports or that type of stuff. You know the governance that you need to follow. You can select that. You have source documents. So you already have your policy and procedures, and you have all this data that you're getting off your SOAR. So why would you write this from scratch when you can have 98% of it done right out of the box? Like for contingency plan, you already have your people set up in your profiles and in your boundaries. You already know what your recovery time objectives are. You already know what your backups are. So all this data is there. Why are you copy cut pasting it, right? Um, Same thing with policies. If you have all this information and you don't really know how to write a new policy or procedure, this AI generator helps you do this. And the cool thing about this is, remember, everything in here is zero trust. So you can set up your own large language model that can be on premise, that can be third party. You set up the brains, the agents use the brains you allocate to them. So the large language models or small language models you're using, and then the tools are in here. If you want to allocate more tools, you can do that too. But right now, out of the box, we have almost every cybersecurity and privacy tool you probably need to do full enterprise security and privacy, including the advanced malware analysis and evidence collection. So we have patch management. Um, you know, Once again, you'll have your own internal patch management capability here. I don't have any patches uploaded right now. These are my sources. These are well-known authoritative sources, but you're going to add your own sources because you have your own hashed approved patches. So this is where you would do it. And if you're wondering, like, well, how do I do it? I can do it right here, right? I can get an AI agent to help me. I'm trying to add this source. I need to know how to set the SHA-256 hash for it. I need blah, blah. That's all in here for you. Data sync is just to make sure that you have this really data-driven environment. So, up earlier, you saw when we were doing threat intelligence, I have my sticks, my taxi, my SciBox. But now I'm going to be supporting my static scanning, my dynamic scanning, my network scanning, my packet capture, all my STIG checklists. You got to have a bunch of data to really data enable those agents and those tools to know where you really are. So you can see I have my CV database, common vulnerability enumeration. I got my KEVs, my known exploited. I got my STIG libraries. You can see here the latest updates. Like I said, you're probably like, well, why do I have to have all these data sources? And I can add more. I can have my agents go help me find better data sources on the network or in the systems. But the reason you want that is you want that data-driven information. So if there's a new exploit that came out, a 0-day, Anthropic was able to find 500 0 days in 20 hours. So you want your CVEs are very critical right now, and you need to be running at the speed of AI to really deal with this. I hate to say it, but the days of humans only going after these 0-day exploits or these vulnerabilities, we're gonna lose. And so you need to be really have a data-driven agent with the right tools that can respond at the speed of AI. So this is your static application testing. This is where you'll connect in your Claude, your Replit, your Git repository, or your custom scans on any data or of any of the software assurance stuff you're doing, and you're going to find your CWEs and your application security stig is in here. You can see the rules and the findings, any AI connectors you might have. So this is important because this allows you to integrate all of those code platforms where you're doing not just the vibe coding, but your Git repository where you have this really specific set of data you need to do these advanced security testing on. And luckily, if you're using probably at the time I'm doing this like Opus 4.6 or Claude and Anthropic, or you're using Codex 5.2 or Gemini just came out, I believe it was 3.1, then you have these extremely capable software assurance platforms backed with AI and agents. And here you can manage all of them. So that's the important thing. It's like you already have the brains to do the work, and now you need a place to manage those. DAST, so what you're doing, Nessus scans, you're spending a lot of money on that. You can now integrate it. This is agent driven. And the other thing is, I just got asked this question in DoD the other day, like, well, what about Nessus? Can I still use it? You can use whatever you want. Um, you know, this platform allows you to integrate security content automation protocols. All 8 domains of SCAP are integrated into this. So there's nothing in security content automation protocol that this platform doesn't support. So I don't care as long as your vendors are supporting what they're supposed to, then this platform provides them both the tooling, the agents, and the capabilities to execute that mission space. The problem you're going to have is that you know, those are expensive and maybe you don't have the budget. So this gives you literally a back-end data fabric, agentic ready tools that they can go execute. And you're not spending a crap load of your budget on cybersecurity because they just decided they're going to charge you more for the same thing. So you can do the targets, the scans, the findings. Obviously, you can do AI scans. And this is more of, you know, when you're looking at doing your chatbots. So yes, you can do an top 10 with Nessus, but what if you're really looking at your agents or your LLMs or some of these new configurations? So we set those up for you. Um, Network scanning, I mostly built this to do really fast enumeration of network assets and because your CMDB is always out of whack, so where you put all your assets is all always out of whack with reality. So this allows you to scan it, update it, put this asset in the right boundary, and that's why I put this in there. So people are like, wait a minute, you have a DAS scanner, why you have a network scanner? It's because I want to know, at different times everything that's running on my system, all the ports, protocols, and services, are they identified? Are they in a boundary? Are they working for me or against me, right? And so this just makes it a lot faster. I put this here, you know, really because when you're doing assessments, it's one of the things that people miss. And it's in DoD, we can't afford to miss you know, the PCAP files. So good, you ran a scan. That doesn't mean you're secure. Did you actually look? Yes, it said it had a TLS 1.3, but did you actually validate that it's encrypting that message traffic in the right part of the header? And so this is just an area where I thought, we're really weak. Um, and I love the tools that are out there already, but this gives your AI agents and you the ability to integrate this into your different types of testing. All right, let's talk about the Stig implementation checker. This is your Stig tool. You already have a few of them, I'm sure. You probably have 50 of them, I don't know. But this is the idea of where, okay, if I'm going to build all these policies, procedures, system security plans, tests, all this back-end security fabric, how in the hell, or excuse me, how in the world am I expected to bring all this together? And Stigs basically apply NIST Special Publication 853 Rev 5 or 1253 across a type of technology. So an operating system or something like that, right? Well, good. Now you have 5,000 of those components. How is a human supposed to put that together? So that's really why I integrated the Stig here. You got the catalog. You can set up the DoD specific catalog. You have the different SCAP repos in here that you can pull down. Um, if you so decide, and you're going to use this for your contractors, you can have CIS benchmarks, your Docker security, all of your XCDDF, so you can still bring in, your different benchmarks. But even your interview questionnaires, what the status, remediation, approval, that's there. So if I'm about to apply something, here's the status, here's the remediation, and is it approved before it goes on that system? And then if you're doing FedRAMP, really kind of where does all this stuff sit as it relates to FedRAMP? And this is important here in that the other thing you shouldn't have to do is write a system security plan for our tool. Like if you enable all these technologies, it should tell you in a format that you can use for your system security plans, for your authorization or artifacts, for everything that you're doing in this world. You already are using this. Then my platform needs to explain how you're implementing these controls and how they're working as intended. And this updates as you start enabling the controls and the agents. So it's very important that we're not making extra work for you when you implement this. This is an on-premise tool. Yes, you can put it in your private cloud. Yes, you can download it from Google, Azure, and AWS, but this is really meant to be on-premise behind the firewall, right? This is meant to be part of your authorization boundary, and it's to help you enhance your RMF and your security and privacy at the speed of AI. So of course, then we want incident response in here. You can add incidents, you can enable your current ticket system, you can export it to your current ticket system. But this is also so you can take those tickets and actually have agents help you fix them, right? Maybe you have a great incident response team, but you don't have a good forensic investigator, right? So this gives you the forensic investigator, and you can see what they specifically do, what frameworks they use. You can run this agent now on this specific vulnerability that has been you're responding to, and so it's going to bring the data back. It's going to give you the information if they're still open. So just imagine all this in one place, and you probably already do this, but it's cut across your enterprise. I also had a belief, and this is not a highly refined module. I'm going to, but if you have an incident, you're already testing your incident response. If you have backups and you're testing them to recover, you're already testing your contingency plan. So I want to keep track of all those artifacts so that you're fulfilling those, let's call it checkbox obligations you need to do. And is it really working? And what's the truth? What's the ground truth on those? So that's for data. Poems, every time you do a scan, every time you do a packet capture, every time you do an assessment, you create a plan of action milestones. You need to be able to close them out, manage them. There's a lot here. Um, connect them to a system, all that type of stuff, right? So it's just a heads up. This just brings all your poems in one place. Um, Nothing breaking there. Blue team, red team, purple team, and attack paths. So, if you're going to go do one of these security assessments, you can set up a new blue team. You set up what you're going to do, connect all the tools to it. Same thing with the red team, the purple team. But maybe you don't have the ability to touch that production asset. So you're still going to enable and look at the attack paths that you're going to go after, but you're not going to you're going to simulate the purple team or the red team or the blue team. And so you can have an AI agent help you with that also, right? And why that's important is now you're keeping track of all these assessments, and then they're going in and they're helping you build your documents. They're helping you with your patch management. They're helping you with your software assurance vulnerabilities. So that's the idea there. Um, Log artifacts, this is just where, you're going to be, you have an incident. So you want to upload the different log artifacts and you want the AI to figure out, or you're connected to your syslog, your Windows event log, all these different systems here, um, you know, and you're going to pull the logs, or you're going to have the agent pull the log because it's like, okay, I saw that patient 0 was asset A, but then it pivoted or it somehow got into asset B. What changed on asset B? Was it the same attack? Was it different? Do you have to go through and do some type of forensic sampling? So, this is really bringing all that evidence into one place so you can do the more important part, the forensics evidence management. So you can collect it, you can connect your detonation chamber, and you can conduct your malware analysis on those data dumps. And so this is just a pretty interface for a DD, but it has the right blockers at the port level on it. It lets you know what's in legal hold and compromise. If you have something in the detonation chamber, it's not quite an incident yet, but it could have been. You want to be able to do the malware analysis on that. You can pull it in here and run it. And if you don't have the people to do it, once again, you're going to use those agents. And so this is bringing that, you already have the vulnerabilities. You saw an incident, it's been exploited. Now you're connecting to those assets and you're working to get this thing out of your network or your systems. And you're keeping that legal chain of custody the whole time, right? So that's important. But what's more important, I always say with this is, and I'm just going to keep on telling you this, is that you have these very specific agents that can help you do this forensic evidence management. Maybe you got someone that's really great at malware analysis, but they don't know how to work with the detonation chamber. So, anyways, this is really important for you, to have the help you need to really figure out, was that patient zero? Is it spreading? What can I do about it? All right, so let's next go into one of the main reasons we created this platform. If you're using our AI firewall and you're using our governance system and you're using our shadow embedded AI, doing MCP monitoring, agent monitoring, and LLM monitoring, and basically protecting those assets and assessing them for hallucinations, for data drift, and everything like that, that's great. But what if you find something? And so we built this so that, okay, you see there's been some adversarial training attack or a prompt injection or some type of bias that your system, as soon as you started talking about Taiwan, it created. This allows you to come in and really break down what happened, when it happened. Was it AI's fault? Was it a human's fault? Was it an insider threat? Was it something that was going on a traditional asset that affected your AI asset? And so that's really why we built this, and that's why it's important to you. We have our AI catalog in here, so you can set up your different environments and ML ops, your data lineage, all your risk controls, approval workflows, attestations, assurances, all your AI risk. And I love this because this actually takes the MIT AI Risk Repository and the NIST AI Risk Management Framework, integrates it into the technical, operational, ethical, security risks, and allows you to do an assessment on it. So you can be like, well, is this really biased, or is a prompt injection or adversarial? You can do your observability tests. Um, you can register your models, go through and do your model experiments, production pipeline, and your store. Compliance, obviously, NIST, RMF. We talked about a lot of that, but if you're doing all of these things, now you need to bring it internal, and then documentation artifacts. You have some uploaded. Last but not least, AI safety. Is your system bias? Does it have some weird prompt injections that's making it unsafe to use? Huh. If you use OpenClaw, is it burning the hell out of your tokens? Or maybe you have a GPU or your internal model and you're seeing some really weird things. And then content detections. Like, is it AI content, or is it real? And so it's just really important to have all these tools and these agents, once again, to help you do this workflow, right? And maybe you have experts in all this. Good for you. You're unlike any other organization. So, if you have someone that's really good at AI telemetry, you're far beyond, most organizations. But if you don't, you can actually also create a bot for that. There's one in there already, but that's the idea. Token observability, this is really, just to get an idea of how much you're spending, especially if you're using third parties. If you're using first party, how many, tokens are you burning on your first party, your request log, your models. And you notice, and that's a funny one. I was talking to DoD yesterday, that GPT-4 they're like, hey, Waylon, why are you using that? I'm like, because I can't afford to burn all of this really expensive tokens on Claude, Opus 4.6, or GPT 5.2. Maybe you can. And that's your decision. Like the brain I have in this right now is not the smartest brain, and it still does really wonderful. Does it get confused sometimes? Yes. But I'll say if I had Opus 4.6 as the swarm model, it wouldn't be as confused because it would have the architect, it had that security background, the SaaS results will be better. And like I said, your agents are only as good as how you train them. And we don't make you use our AI to do this, right? Zero trust, that idea is that you own the AI. You can decide where your brains, your tools, and all this is coming from. Here's the missions. And this is really an asset inventory for your AI agents. So you can see right here, I have 60 agents that are in my platform, 54 currently running, 4 in development. And what development is, I'm really creating them like, okay, I built the markdown file. I'm looking at the specific authoritative sources. What do they have to do? What tools can they use? What kind of identity management you need behind that? And then I put them into pending approval, right? And so, anyways, this you can run the missions right from here. I'll have to get rid of my sidebar here, but you can run the missions. You can view them, you can pause them, you can copy them. Oh, I love this. Maybe you love your AI risk monitor agent, right? And you're like, but I need to have it. I've seen organizationally defined parameters for AI risk monitor. This is where you clone it, you take that file, you update it, you update the prompting mechanism. You might even update the brain, the back end of it, right? To make it better for your use. And so that's one of the questions I always get. Or you can come here, the builder, and just generate your agent right here, right? So you'll come in here and say, look, I need a threat monitor that only looks at these hashes from the dark web. Or maybe you're building it specifically to your indicators of compromise, or maybe you're building it for specific TTPs or APTs. Lots of acronyms there, but basically, if you know, you know. This is where you connect your brains, the governance, the marketplace. This is important. Maybe you want to go through and install a specific one that's not already out there, and that's where you'll come in and do that. And analytics, what are you using them for? Like, it what are they finding in the environment for you? And ones or are they orchestrators and then executions, um, all of the activity, the timelines, kind of your chain of custody on what your agents are actually doing. This is Jedi right here. So let's say you had a phishing issue. It looks like I completed that. Incident response, I completed that. But swarm mode is like really great. So I have ransomware on my SQL DB. And I'm going to do that and composition. And if you want, you can select your bots or your agents, but I'm not going to. And then it's going to go through and say, oh, it's ransomware. Okay, I got a database. I need a triage coordinator, a malware analyst, a threat analyst, data exfiltration detector, endpoint analyst, report synthesizer, and a forensic specialist. Bam. So I'm going to now my supervisor agent is going through and talking to my agents, right? And you do this in OpenClaw all the time, probably. But the cool thing about it is like I have all these trained people, I shouldn't say people, AI agents working for me, swarming and attacking this problem right now, right? And I just put 7 people to work at 9:05 a.m. on a Thursday morning. So that just gives you an idea of like maybe you can't even get all these people on the phone and you need to react fast. And I think this shows you like look, like it or not, you can't fight AI with just humans. You have to, and I'll say this again, you have to fight at the speed of AI. Might scare you, but that's the reality. And so this is a perfect example. If that piece of malware decided to infect other components, and I wasn't able to just swarm at this thing and attack it, um, and then report about it, this just became a much easier malware breakout than had I had to talk about it, and I had to build a threat intelligence on indicators of compromise. And then I had to go to the endpoint and see what the ports, protocols, and services that have been opened and how they're running. And I had to go do a data dump and write block it. So I kept that forensic analysis. And then I got to go through and do this repetitive test to see if they're changing the stuffing bits. And then I got to detect, was anything actually taken? And then you got a reporter. So pretty cool. I'm going to skip off this because it's going to work in the background. DRM, this is just for us to know, how much you're burning, uses, license, limits. And the truth is, that's what's great about Zero Trusted AI. You're buying one small license and you're literally able to replace millions of dollars of tools and agents. So, you know, and we're not connected to anything that, you might be uh, for lack of better words, we don't expect you to buy these tools. We give you this force multiplier and these agents right out of the box. And if you want to add your traditional tools stuff, let the force be with you. Fine, do it. Um, you need to talk to a security analyst. You can do that here, an incident responder, and you can create a new agent. This is just so you actually are keeping that memory local when you're talking to these agents. Um, this is basically going out and looking for agents that you may not know about yet. So you're going to go out and scan for them. It's kind of like shadow AI, I like to call it, of agents. You may have agents that are deployed in your network and you don't know. Hopefully, you don't. Guardian agents. This is exactly what it says. So basically, these agents are like your enforcers of your policies and procedures. Um, Desktop. This probably is not something you're going to use a lot to do. I can be wrong, but I put this on my desktop because I have lots of AI agents running. I'll show you this right now. You can see I got GitHub, I got Cursor, Olama, LM Studio, Crew. Um, you could even, I don't know if you can see, well, you can't. I have OpenClaw running, all my agents here. So I have an OpenClaw manager, I have a governance enforcer, I have a controller. Here's my tools catalog. Here's my guardrails. And you're like, well, I have guardrails already. Yeah, but you're using third-party guardrails. You need to have, you're trusting the LLM to do the guardrails for you. Good luck with that. Event schemes, and this is a very important one. What if that agent starts doing things I don't want it to? And we've already seen this where agents can be swarmed and, you know, they mean to listen to you, but they don't quite listen to you. So you have a kill switch on them. And that's what's built into all of our agents. And I suggest if you create an agent, you also do that because they might just be burning lots of tokens for no reason, or they might become your adversary at some point. So you want that kill switch. Security reporting, you know what that is. Health monitor, you know what that is. Are they running? Are they enrolled? Are they healthy? Are you seeing something? Is one of them offline? Do you need to put that heartbeat back together? And hey, you know, I don't know how to, and this is like when OpenClaw came out. It's like, I don't know how to use the CLI at admin to put this in. So we didn't want you to have that problem. As long as you have Windows, Mac, and Linux, you can easily download and set up this capability that's watching those AI agents. All right, so AI application security assessment. This is mostly so you can do external chatbots or AI applications you have running. And just like we scanned the systems before, this allows you to scan them specifically for AI governance. This is connected into our AI firewall. I'll just leave it at that. If you've already learned that, you can see the gateway, the policies, your event log, your API keys, your monitoring. Um, and this is just so you can, if you're controlling your AI assets, your agents, your LLMs, your SLMs, your RAGs, your vector DBs through our tool, then this just allows you to connect to it, pull the feed in here, and get the data into your SOAR. Same thing with AI health check. If you've been running AI health checks, and you're finding uh, data drift and you're have compliance issues, you're doing model validation, you're doing factuality checking, protected class, discrimination, zip code proxy, bias testing, all the stuff that you probably have to do in your AI labs now. AI health check will help you with that. We want to pull that in or run the test case here. So We just wanted you to be able to, whether you have our tools or not, protecting and controlling your AI, we wanted you to have this ability to still execute some of those tasks locally here. Um, Kubernetes. So as a heads up, this platform runs on Kubernetes. And so in the spirit of zero trust, we don't expect you to trust us. So this allows you to literally look at your Kubernetes, um, how it's set up. You can do it your own self-assessment of our platform to see if there's any issues right here, what your dashboard is. You can do a new self-assessment. You can look at our any issues we have. And why would we do that? Well, you know, you can of course scan us externally with your other tools too, but we want you to, in order for this platform to work and work as intended, you need to be constantly aware of what it's capable of doing, if it's locked down, if there's some things you need to fix on it. And if I'm going to give you all these tools, I want to make sure you can also check us. And so that's the idea there. And you do have to deploy with Kubernetes with us. So, that's just the reality. Audit logs, you know what this is. This is basically you import the logs, and you can do analysis on those audit logs. Automation, you got to log in to do that, but that's basically getting access to the CLI. You probably don't care about these sector compliances, but you might care about FISMA, right? Um, and you may not, who knows? But if you're just wondering, where your ATO renewals are coming up, your active ATOs, the government frameworks you're running, all that type of stuff, you already collected all this data. You're already doing these tests. You can do a new assessment if you want. Maybe your Department of Energy, so you have that, or we have a lot of fraud detection and then banking stuff in here. Compliance library puts you. That's funny. Push me back up there, but here's where you can generate documents, or also you upload. See, these are all our security policies. So I browse. I can bring in a new file there, upload it, and then now your SOAR is reading your documents. So it's literally has memory of what. So if you have like I said, organizational defined parameters, you have DoD policy, then you have Pentagon policy, and then you have DMDC policy, right? So and then this SAP program has a specific policy. You can upload all those, and now your AI and agents understand what it's doing. Like, what are these organizationally defined parameters? Maybe your password links was supposed to be 8 via or 12 via CNSS 1253, but in the SAP program it's 15. You want your platform to understand that, and you want to be able to create these other documents and reports for you using those documents. So you don't have to read 50,000 documents every time you're doing an OIG report or something. Reporting is exactly what it says. You can generate all your scan reports, your executive reports, your compliance reports, the history of the ones you've run. So you can controls. Um, this is your 1253 or 853, your security and privacy programs, the control lists, your catalogs, any overlays that you might have. And what's great about this too is you can upload your overlays. So you're like, wait a minute, I have you know, let's say a medical device overlay. You just upload it, and it takes that overlay because it's supposed to be following, uh, the CNSS 1253 for the selection of the controls, and you've added it. So it's selecting and deselecting those controls for you. And you all know you have to click this in DoD, so have a good time. All right, evidence. This is when I'm putting a case together, or when my AI agents are putting a case together. I think there's an insider threat. Wayland keeps on doing this thing in my AI environment. I'm really pissed that he's going and burning all these tokens, and he's burning tokens looking for aliens again. And I told him that's not his mission, and that really happened. Then I'm going to, kick his butt here. So this just allows you to bring all that stuff together or use the agents to collect evidence, or maybe you're doing an assessment and you need to have authoritative evidence backing what everything you did. Policies, this is really cool. Um, this allows you to put all of the information about your organization, all the regulations you follow. Then you can generate these policies and add them to your policy library. So once again, you probably saw this recurring theme in here. It's like, well, you already have all this data. you're going to input this once, and it's going to keep that data, and you can update it, and it's going to be able to write these policies, and your agents and your platform can use them. So not just publishing it to your SharePoint saying, you got to do this. This platform is going to execute on that. I told you this before, and I think this is very important too, is yes, you can use your old traditional security tools. If you're stuck on those 1980 things that were built before AI and you want to bring in all of those security content automation protocols, let the force be with you, right? Oh, they just added an AI agent, so it works now. Whatever. It was pre-AI. So it's probably flimsy, probably has some issues. You can say, oh, it's been around a while, but your belief's your belief. So go ahead and download those into your platform so you can use them. Here's your admin center. You can connect your SIMs here. You can integrate any external systems, add additional communication channels. You can set up your log exports, your patch sources, and your audit logs here. And I don't have a lot of those set up. Maybe you think one of your modules or agents aren't working correctly. So once again, with Zero Trust, you can literally test the modules, fill it in. You can figure out what failed and what didn't fail, why it happened. And so this is going to help you build better agents, build a better SOAR. Tell us like, hey, Waylon or Femi or whoever, there's an issue. Um, Platform settings. This is where you're basically selecting all your models, your providers, all your tools. If you're going to connect external storage, and I think that's a power that's really great here. It's like, you know, all of this data, right? And all of this work being in one platform allows you to keep it within your, let's call it firewall, or your, if you have guardian agents, your guardian agent firewall. So all your security feeds, all your monitoring schedules, and your data governance. And so data governance is interesting. You know, remember, we run this on a laptop, hopefully have a GPU, or all the way up to the largest AI systems out there. So you can do local storage, enterprise, cloud. You can set your compliance model that you need to be following. You can appreciate that. So then it's going to check your storage configuration to ensure you're actually following that. And then your encryption standards for at rest, in transit, and motion. Um, and notice I don't have any motion set right now, and there's for good reason. I want the agents have to read this data, and so I need, when I swarm the agents, I need them to be able to communicate, but I also need to watch them, right? So if they're all speaking encrypted language to each other, and all of a sudden one decides to become the Terminator, that's a problem. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but the policy analyst is kind of a punk on this system, so as a heads up, you'll want to watch him. Training center, yeah, you're just going to upload your training, your CPEs, and your resources. I put this here so you can really, there's obviously AT in NIST, awareness and training. This allows you to feed that data in there, and so you can write reports. All your system API keys, you know what that is. And then let's go do a zero trust assessment. Maybe, you know, we're going to do it on this platform, or we're going to do it on a new identity management system or application that's out there. You want to run these, you can tell the history, set up the roles, and it's going to tell you where you're actually at. So not only are we a zero trust application and you can look at the Kubernetes security configurations and the STIG settings and all the tests, but you can do a zero trust assessment on your platform here or any platform out there. Very important. Deployment guide, um, overview what you need, your on-premise requirements, AWS, Azure, GCP, the install scripts, and then really how to get down to work. How do you make this work? So, um, you know, deployment guide's great because, first of all, um, you want to know kind of where you're sitting with being able to deploy this capability, all the different required software you need, and then based on what you're deploying to, what that is, but also, I don't got time to set up this Kubernetes deployment. I need to install scripts. So it sets all these services, the web services, connects your backend database, everything like that. That's how all systems should work, right? And then system settings. This is doing a deep query right now on my system settings. And what this is goes back to really your system security plan. This is where you're putting all your information. This is Department of Defense AI SOAR monitoring system. and here's the owner, here's a CISO, here's an ISSO, all that stuff. Because when you do that, it's going to feed up into these assessment boundaries. Your dashboard's going to suggest, you look, I just scanned, I found a new network firewall. I better add that to my system security plan, or at least some authorization boundary, right? And so I can go execute that, go ahead and make that. Let's do it. And that's the cool part about this is you can select all my policies and procedures are applicable, and it's going to read those 30 documents. This is basically a RAG, retrieval augmented generation, for building a document on the fly. And the power there is not just that you can build these documents, like by pulling all this data in one spot. The power is that, you know, you now can use your local AI, so you're not using third parties that you might not trust to write these documents. And the truth is, I think this is, in my self-serving bias, is not going to be around for long. Why would you write compliance documents if you can get in real time the status of all your assets? If you're really doing continuous monitoring, you really can see what the organization security posture and risk is, and that's really up to you. But I really do see now that we have all the automation domains and security content automation protocol. You can back those with tools, data, and agents, and a brain with your large language models and small language models. And you can do all of this work using AI. And that is really what the power of this platform is. Here, all the tools you're spending millions of dollars in your enterprise on right now included. Here, all of those reports that you're spending endless amounts of time creating because you have to copy, cut, paste out of 50 different systems because they're checkbox somewhere else, that's taken care of. And over here, I need an expert. I need someone that really understands this, and my boss or the department is not going to give you the money to do that. That's everybody's problem. Well, knowledge is a commodity now with AI, so you got an agent that can help you execute that mission. Thank you for listening. Contact us at contact@zerotrusted.ai.com if you have further questions or you want to try this wonderful platform out.